Troy Casey, Certified Health Nut, here to bring you more fun, freedom, and phenomenon. Today we have, again, Greg, the Hydrogen Man, here, and he's live from Japan, where I have also spent some time, and he's out there studying health and going to the hot springs and cold springs. And then, of course, we have Curtis is also on with us. He's a bit of a water nerd and loves all the hydrogen technology, and Greg's been educating Certified Health Nut HQ for the last couple of years on the hydrogen water machine and all things hydrogen. So without further ado, Greg, welcome back to the show. Really appreciate you. You look like a young Jedi out there in Japan. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey out in Japan?
Yeah, it's been absolutely incredible. I'm actually out here by farming town. And so I've been learning a lot about, the Japanese are masterful farmers and just the way that they value water. I've been here studying a lot to learn more about health. And they just have amazing science here in Japan also in regards to that and water and hydrogen. And then also discovering how it relates to the human body and spiritually and how the basically health and spirituality really come together. And so, I'm living here now. I'm not just visiting here. I'm living here. And the water's that important to me for both my health and just my mental well-being. So yeah, I'm just here learning more and more. And your buddy Curtis was really fascinated by a lot of this stuff too, and you are too. And I think it's so awesome. And some of the kind of the latest information is also how hydrogen appears. I always like to say I'm not going to give any medical advice. I'm not making any medical claims, and I'm not making any claims for or against any product or products. But the way that hydrogen appears to affect the pineal gland. And I've been actually experiencing that. It doesn't happen immediately. I noticed that it takes time.
Curtis, why don't you just be on this podcast with us?
Yeah.
Because you've got a good handle, and okay, this sounds great.
So, Troy, I just wanted to maybe record this part for viewers on the periodic table, so we can get a feel for. Greg brings up the point hydrogen is a building block for every other element and everything that we need in the human body, and it's that selective antioxidant, right? And you talk about how when you get in the sun and you have a green juice or you have some super xanthan, the astaxanthin, then you can be in the sun for longer without burning. But if you eat fried foods, then you're going to burn a lot quicker. And Greg makes the point that hydrogen helps you to not burn. So it's that selective antioxidant that doesn't allow you to oxidize with the UV rays. So there's hydrogen on the top, and there's lithium, which that Desert Pete has lithium in his baths, right? And then
Right.
Here's strontium and barium in the same column as calcium and magnesium. So our body needs calcium and magnesium, but then we're getting sprayed with strontium and barium. And so all of these, every column has the same valence electrons, but a different atomic weight. So if we go over to fluoride, chlorine, bromine, and iodine, what our body's looking for is iodine, but we're getting in our water fluoride, chlorine, and bromine, and your receptors for your thyroid and different organs will accept the right valence electrons, right? They can make that key connection if that's all getting access to, and that's why you can detoxify your body by adding iodine into the body, because your body will know that that's the correct atomic weight, correct element, and it'll kick the chlorine, bromine, and fluoride out of the body. So just wanted to bring that point up so we can see how the periodic table works and how hydrogen is number one, with one electron at the very beginning of the table.
And by the way that the Japanese test hydrogen, they actually know how to do it. The crazy part is in the US, they're doing it, in my opinion, all wrong. I've seen people testing the hydrogen water and hydrogen gas is totally wrong. So I've been trying to show them the way the Japanese do it, because they're the number one in the world when it comes to hydrogen research. And so their actual data was showing that this couldn't be correct. And the company thought they'd made a mistake. So they retested and retested. And what they eventually realized is they didn't make a mistake. They realized that they had just created something that the world has never seen. And right now they're calling it like sticky hydrogen. And on top of it being sticky and sticking to things, it's structuring. So what they're doing is they're literally double structuring like a vortex of hydrogen. So it's structuring the hydrogen before it even gets dissolved into the water. And it's creating also these like crazy nanobubbles. So the tinier the bubbles are, the better they are. And so they're literally making the best nanobubbles in the world here in Japan. They're making the sticky hydrogen and they're vortexing the hydrogen. They're doing something that no hydrogen company in the world is doing right now. And so if people want to check out some of that footage, they can check out, everything's free on my YouTube channel on Uprising 144K is the name of the channel. And then if people want to see or contact or look at what the company's actually doing, the website's called holyhydrogen.com. And so they can see the work that they're actually doing. And this equipment is literally available to people. And it's unbelievable what they're doing here in Japan. So yes, I do want to go to their factory at some point. I was invited over there actually, but I've been too busy enjoying the springs and I already have my hydrogen machine. So I don't really need to go over there. I already got
You brought your hydrogen machine with you?
I did not bring one. I actually had them send me one here in Japan so I wouldn't have to travel with it. So I actually just have it here already. And then a lot of the people that I've been encountering here, and when I'm looking at renting homes, everybody's got a Hydrofix. They already have them. It's the number one machine in all of Japan. So many of the homes, I encountered them already in people's homes. So the first place I was renting, I was already able to use their device, when I arrived there, which was really nice too, because it took a while for my device to arrive. So yeah, it's been pretty awesome.
Well, you're looking very healthy, Greg. Let me ask some technical questions. So I've had my machine for about 2.5 years, I think. You sent me one out. And then how often should you clean that filter or replace the little filter and or clean the machine with citric acid?
So the cartridge, the thing you're calling a filter, is not actually a water filter. It's called they call it a cartridge, but it's called an H-type DI filter. It's actually very unique. No hydrogen device in the world has that technology. Everything in that cartridge is food grade, by the way, which is really important. A lot of companies use like lye and sodium hydroxide to make their hydrogen, which is a really bad idea. Or plated metals and cheap metals, which you don't want to do that, is what I've learned. But that cartridge needs to be replaced either once a year. You can probably go 2 years because the Japanese are really, really, they always want everything absolutely perfect. So when they tell you to replace it every year, I've asked the engineers over there questions and they're like, it could go 2 years, but there's also a light on the machine that will come on when it'll tell you also when it would be a good time to replace that cartridge. So that's kind of a rough baseline, is 1 to 2 years, or when the indicator light comes on to change out that cartridge. And then of course, you always want to get authentic stuff. So, you go to the official website like the holyhydrogen.com and they have their cartridges there. They're actually really cheap. They're not that expensive to run the machine. As far as the citric acid, you really should do it. The company tells you once a month. But if you use the cleanest water in the world, which is always what I'm all about, which is carbon distilled, I oftentimes clean mine every 2 months, something like that. And then you do want to do the citric acid cleaning though is also good. It's just really good to clean it, but also to take any buildup that might be on the metals of the machine. So that's really important too, depending on what kind of water you're using again. Because if you're using certain type of water, I've seen the metal get all gunked up within a week or two. And then when you have like the cleanest, craziest water, like what I'm using, I've seen the metal stay clean for 3 months. So it really depends on the quality of your water. And it's interesting that you're asking this too, because there was a doctor, I've had a lot of doctors contact me throughout the years because of their own medical problems actually, or medical problems within their families. And even they don't believe in what they're doing. And a lot of them have seen either my blood work or they've talked to patients that have had these crazy results from the hydrogen, and then they found out about me. And one of the interesting ones that contacted me not long ago was this lady who had these medical problems. She couldn't figure out how to resolve them. And she got a hydrogen machine. And her hydrogen machine, I still have a picture of this. in my phone, it literally looked like green bubblegum had developed on the bottom, inside the pitcher at the bottom, after using it for about a month and a half to 2 months. And she's like, hey, there's something wrong with my machine. And she wanted me to contact the company. And I'm always curious. So I did contact the company, said, what is this? And it turned out they were like, it's not the machine, it's the water that she's using. So the machine reacts to things that are in the water. And if there's impurities in the water, it seems to have these reactions. And so that doctor ended up she got a carbon distiller, which is what I recommend, because it cleans not only everything out of the water. I literally have the lab report right here about all the different lab tests that they've done from a third party. And it's the only way to remove every virus, bacteria, and parasite out of the water. It's the only way. And then, of course, all the fluoride and chlorine and all the other garbage and PFAS and microplastics and all the stuff that's in the water these days. Yeah, I really think the water's one of the main things that's making us sick these days, too, on top of all the other garbage and processed foods and everything else. And so once she got one of those devices, and that's on another website, but one of the ones that I use, once she cleaned the water and put clean water in the Hydrofix, then everything was fine. And her medical issue was resolved in actually about 6 months. She ended up calling me back 6 months later and she was fine. So water is so important. I can't emphasize it enough.
Water is so important. And the more videos I make on water, the more questions people have. It's crazy. So, Curtis, can you order me one of these carbon distillers, please? So the two devices that you recommend is a carbon distiller, so you have purified water. Does it take it from the air or from your municipal water source?
So it basically takes it from any water source you want. So if you want the details, the website's called mypurewater.com. If you do want a discount code just to get it cheaper, it's the same name as my channel, Uprising144K is the discount code. And once you can take literally tap water and put it in a carbon distiller like these, and it just purifies everything. I wish I could show you, I'll just show you, for example, I got pages. I mean, we're talking pages of chemicals. I mean, every single one of these little things is a different type of chemical. And right here, one of my favorite ones, because I think it's a really big problem right now, is PFAS. You probably can't see it, but PFOA or PFOS. And here's the starting levels that they were at. It says 26 or a 7. After carbon distillation, everything is literally at a 0 because it removes everything. And what's interesting about it is that's how nature does it. This is the thing, is that I think we have to, this is what I do, and this is why I'm here in Japan, look to nature for a lot of our answers. So that's how nature purifies water. You may have millions of people having questions about water, but it's so simple. It all starts with hydrogen. The sun is made of hydrogen. The sun hits the water. The steam rises. It's a distillation process. And basically, rain and snow is distilled water. And if you've ever done anything agriculturally or grown your own food, have you ever seen the difference of what rainwater does versus municipal water? It's so different, the way that it affects the crops and the way that it affects the food. And so that's how I first started my research. And then, of course, I look at the scientific data, and that's when it proved it all to me that carbon distillation just cleans your water to perfection. And then after that, you can do things with it, like add the hydrogen. You can add different minerals to it. But first, you need to clear out all the garbage out of the water. So
how stable is the hydrogen once the Lourdes Hydroflix makes it?
So the hydrogen, obviously the way that the Hydrofix makes it is different. So all the hydrogen will typically be gone in about 1 hour. But if you were to utilize the second best method in the world, Hydrofix is the #1 method. Second best method, for example, also that they use in Japan, it's the second biggest company in Japan. They use an injection method where they inject the gas, kind of like the way they do with soda streams, the CO2 gas that they inject. But when you do that, the hydrogen, 90% of it leaves in 50 seconds. So that's how unstable it is. Just to have an idea, the Hydrofix can last an hour, and the injection method, although it's a pretty decent method, it doesn't last but maybe 1 minute. So it's really important that when you do the protocols, my video 337 shows proper hydrogen protocols. Video 68, you can see a live blood analysis they did in a lab in Japan. I remember doctors watching that video still not believing their eyes. but you pour the water and you basically want to drink it pretty quickly. I mean, I typically drink my water once I pour it in the cup, literally within 2 to 3 minutes. I just drink it really quickly. I don't sip on it or mess around, just put it down.
Okay. Well, great. I appreciate you coming on and sharing as always. Is there anything that you wanted to cover in your parting?
No, more than anything, I think for people, what I really want people to know is ultimately, if you're looking for health or if you're trying to grow spiritually, that this is something really, really new that people don't know about. And so it really helps, especially when people are suffering. That's been the big thing that I've heard from a lot of people who've contacted me is when they did find me, they share this information, with people who are suffering, whether it's a parent or somebody with a stroke or somebody with a heart problem or arthritis or diabetes. These are really huge issues right now in the world. And I love how RFK is all about, trying to improve the health of Americans. And I just think that's really, really important because I believe that our nation is only as strong as the people in it. So if everybody's super unhealthy, how are we going to have a strong nation? So I hope that people learn about hydrogen. And so I appreciate you having me on and being able to get the word out. And I encourage people to just keep sharing. You can my channel, subscribe and share it more. I'm really doing my best to try to get this info out there. So thank you, brother.
You're the man. I appreciate you. You're looking very healthy. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg, the Hydrogen Man. Make sure you follow him on YouTube. And of course, he's on Instagram as well. And so I'm going to leave, but if you guys want to carry on, Curtis, you can cover anything else. But I'm going to go eat dinner. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Troy, for running the show.
Have fun in Japan.
All right. Thank you so
You're
much.
inspiring me to come out there.
Let's do it. We'll do it sometime if you want. Let's go to the Springs.
Awesome.
We could even talk about accelerated healing too. I mean, I just recently broke my foot, which was not fun.
Yeah.
But I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to test some of my techniques on healing and see what works and what doesn't.
Have you done a hydrogen foot bath?
Well, what I did was, so I started, this is what I did. I went to the doctor first. And the only reason it's a long story why I went to the doctor. I didn't even want to go, but basically I was pushed to go to confirm that it was broken. They did the x-ray. They're like, yes, it's clearly broken. And now it's going to take 3 months for this break to heal. And I was like, okay, 3 months, that's a long time. And they're like, all right, so should we put it in a cast? Let's put your foot in a cast. And I said, no, I don't want to put it in a cast. And they're like, what? No cast? No cast. So I just got a wrap, where I can wrap my foot just to kind of hold the bone, where it needs to be. And so I can take the wrap off, put it on, because otherwise, how am I going to go into the hot springs with a cast?
Yeah, it'd be all soggy and gross.
You can't do it, man. So what I did was I asked for the wrap and I'm hobbling around. I got a little cane and I'm hobbling around my broken foot. And my technique was obviously a lot of rich nutrient food with a lot of minerals. Definitely my clean hydrogen water, a lot of hydrogen gas inhalation. The hydrogen has really been shown in Japan to accelerate healing by triple the speed. So here, 3 months, I'm thinking, okay, let's see if I can take it down to 1 month, right? I mean, that was kind of the goal. And I also use a technique of going to the hot springs. It's an ancient Japanese method where you do the hot, the cold, a lot of minerals. So I'm hobbling around the hot springs, butt naked, because that's the way you do the hot springs here. You have to take all your with no cane. I couldn't go with the cane when it came to the spring. So I mean, my foot, man, it was all purple from the blood underneath the skin, from the break, and it was all swollen. And it looked pretty gnarly. And the people there, they've seen me there before, and they're just like, "Oh man, you're clearly hurt. What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm here to heal." So I've been doing the springs, been doing a lot of the hydrogen, and just a good diet. And it's been about 2.5, 3 weeks, and I'm already walking, dude. I'm already walking normal. Wow. And good. I would say I'm probably like, I don't know, 90% good. So I think my 1 month number was quite accurate, actually. I think I'll be 100% in probably another week or so. And so feeling a whole lot better. And And that's what I've been doing for the break. And I just want people to know about these techniques, specifically clean water and hydrogen, because it's going to help people so much. I mean, the big issues are, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. A lot of people have
you talked about the high blood pressure and the pineal gland actually regulating. Can you touch on that one again?
Yeah, so this is really wild. So we didn't even get into this actually with Troy yet, which was the pineal gland, which is literally the center of your brain, right? Doesn't appear to be protected by the blood-brain barrier. Now, to me, that just seems crazy. I don't know, that probably doesn't seem crazy to anybody else, but to me, this is absolutely insane. So that's the first part about it. Then what I started noticing is the more you dysregulate the pineal gland, it appears to cause disruption and issues in controlling things like blood pressure, blood glucose. Everybody wants to look at the organ, right? Like, hey, your pancreas, for like, let's say, insulin, or for diabetes, or your liver. And although, in my opinion, those organs are clearly important, I think it's the pineal gland that's sending the signal to tell the organ what to do in the first place.
That's like a CPU in a computer being in charge of all the programs and all the different machinery that's running in the computer.
That's exactly what I think is going on. And this is why the hydrogen is confusing the heck out of all the scientists, by the way, because it's confusing them. See, you could take somebody with high blood pressure, they'll do a study on hydrogen, and all of a sudden their blood pressure comes down and it helps regulate it, but they don't know exactly how it's doing it. They don't know, they can see that it's doing it, but they don't know how exactly it's doing it. And of course, they're like, well, it's a selective antioxidant. Yeah, they learned that, and that's a part of it. But hydrogen's so much more than just an antioxidant. It's like looking at the sun. The sun is made up of obviously almost entirely hydrogen. It's hydrogen and helium, but helium is basically just another form of hydrogen, right? And so you have the sun. To say that it's responsible for everything functioning properly on planet Earth, but it's kind of true. I mean, what's going to happen without the sun? Everything would just die here.
Yeah, I've heard of light nutrition. There's the term neutrino, and then nutrition comes from that. Certified health nut. The nut is related to the Latin nux, which is also the pineal gland is the nut, right? And then nux means light in Latin. And so we talk about enlightenment. You made that connection last night. And when you're sun gazing, the nutrition that you're getting off the sun is it, what's the term?
Well, and while you're thinking about that, let me add to what you're saying, because the sun is obviously amazing for our health, right? We even needed to produce vitamin D, though I think this is really important to note. New scientific evidence is actually showing that as you age, so when you're getting older, right around 50, your body will be producing very little vitamin D. So even with sunlight, your body is not producing vitamin D the way it once did, because things aren't working right. You're getting older and things aren't working correctly. Here's the thing. My strong suspicion, and I feel pretty confident in it, but I don't want to make any medical claims or anything, obviously. Although the sun can potentially hurt you and have benefits, but when you use hydrogen, when you have the power of hydrogen with you, all of a sudden your body is not getting burned. All of a sudden, I feel quite confident that your body will actually be producing healthier levels of vitamin D. And the way that it protects your eyes, because we know that the sun damages our eyes. I mean, this is a scientific fact. We know it. If you go to people up in the mountains, for those who don't know, and you can easily Google this, they find a lot of people like in the Himalayas, their eyes are all white because the damage and the reflection from the sun on the snow, and it just damages the eyes. But I have seen so many amazing things in regards to hydrogen with the eyes. So for example, my dad was a really good example. My father had glaucoma for like 3 decades, and he had to get his eyes checked every year because otherwise he could go blind. And I get him on the hydrogen. And the first year, I remember he went to his eye doctor, and I'm like, what are the results? What are the results? And he said, the results are the same. I still have glaucoma, everything's the same. And I thought, oh, wow, hydrogen didn't work. Well, give it a little more time. because the research shows this is what I mean about hydrogen. It's the way that it takes time to do things within the body, because the body has a 7-year cycle, by the way. I'm sure you know that.
Mhm.
And because like your skin is not the same skin that it was 3 to 6 weeks ago, right? And there's different parts of the body that are basically dying and regenerating at different rates. You know, your bones, your tendons, all sorts of different parts in the body. So with my dad's eyes, just to make the long story short, 2nd year, nothing happened either. By the 3rd year, I gave up. But the 3rd year, he called me and said, my eye doctor just told me that I don't have glaucoma, and even the doctor can't believe it. He's requested me to come back and be retested because it doesn't make any sense. So he went back again. They retested him, still no glaucoma. They had him go back again. They retested my dad like 4 times because they just couldn't believe that his glaucoma had disappeared. This is what I'm talking about in regards to hydrogen, and in this particular example, how it's affecting the eyes. People's vision, cataracts, glaucoma, and then the eyes. What are they connected to? They're literally a part of the brain. So now we're getting into the realms of, I've actually done some videos and have testimonials about Alzheimer's and dementia, you know, and in my opinion, even things like Parkinson's, but because literally, I need to get this video footage. Somebody sent me a testimonial from using the Hydrofix from the Holy Hydrogen Company from the Japanese. This person couldn't walk, and they are walking again. They sent me the footage, and I've had pictures and other testimonials of people with dementia and Alzheimer's, like these brain issues. And, you know, the medical establishment, for people who don't know, I mean, I worked in the medical field for over 2 decades. There is no solution for Alzheimer's and dementia. There is, you know, all their medicines are just to try to slow it down. They're not going to fix it. You know what I mean? Mm. And so somebody used my technique, my hydrogen protocol on their mother, and the results were unbelievable. I'm so glad that the daughter chose to take pictures and document the whole thing. And I put it up on one of my videos on my YouTube channel because the American people need to know about this. Honestly, Kennedy needs to know about this. He doesn't, he knows about the power of hydrogen and the things that we can do with it, man. It'll change the world of agriculture, of medicine, and also even athletics. And then obviously in the end, energy. You know, hydrogen's clean, you know, but so there's a lot, it can do so many things. And then of course the world of spirituality, which I don't think people, you know, maybe people don't care about that aspect.
Yeah, people following this channel do, but yeah, with the hydrogen fuel cells and with you saying that everyone in Japan has one of these machines, I think we're primed to see big change come over the earth that we've been hoping for. And it looks like neutrino is what I was thinking of coming off of the sun, because here I'm finding a banana emits neutrinos coming from the natural radioactivity of the potassium in the fruit. So that's the scientific reason for sun gazing, how you can actually gather nutrition through your pineal gland by looking at the sun in the early morning and late evening.
And you know, it's interesting that you bring this up too, because as I was saying, I think that the hydrogen can enhance the benefits we get from the sun. But I also think that the sun goes into our body, like through our tissues, much the way that it goes to the plant, you know, and it goes into the earth itself. I mean, the light is hitting the whole earth and it hits our bodies. And one of the things that I was thinking about was, do you know what ghost vessels are?
I've heard you talk about them before, the ghost capillaries.
Yeah, and so basically these blood vessels that the Japanese discovered in their #1 university in the world that researches hydrogen. And it actually opens up, the hydrogen opens up these ghost vessels where blood can begin to go in there again. So if the blood is carrying nutrients from a banana, or even the light from the sun that's entering our bloodstream, and now it's being able to be carried more thoroughly and effectively throughout the body. And then of course, any free radical damage that it causes, now again, the hydrogen functions, as you were saying, that natural, super permeable, there is no other antioxidant like hydrogen. In fact, you should pull this up. I don't know if you're aware of this. Mm-hmm. Are you aware of the different sizes of antioxidants?
No.
So you're going to love this. I absolutely love this one. Pull up sizes of antioxidants versus hydrogen.
Free radicals, I wanted to touch on that. Oxygen, oxidative stress, antioxidants. Free radicals are an oxygen molecule, and the thing that hydrogen does that you can feel even after doing it or drinking it, after inhaling it for 30 minutes, you have to pee. And so that is the result of the hydrogen, H2O, forming with the free radicals, oxygen, O, and the H2O, and creating water that you then pee out. And pee is actually H3O2, which is structured water.
Oh, dude, I got stuff on urine that will blow your mind, because in the urine, hydrogen is actually, well, before I go down that road, let me show you. So I found this. Did you find the images where this is all I typed in? Antioxidant sizes versus hydrogen, right?
Can you share it on the screen or?
No, because I'm on my phone. Type in what I just typed in, go to images.
Okay.
So did you go to Google and type in antioxidant sizes versus hydrogen?
Oh my gosh, look at this cool one. Okay. Here, I'll share my screen.
There it is. Yep. So any of those you can pick. You can pick that one right there too.
Hey, there's the CoQ10. I've wondered about that thing.
This is exactly what the point I'm trying to make. Look at the size of CoQ10.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, what's that gonna do?
How is that going to enter the mitochondria?
Well, there's the astaxanthin we talk about, the edible sunscreen, and there's the size of that one.
Oh, there you go. And they have vitamin C, glutathione, right?
Wow.
Vitamin E. And then look, did you see where hydrogen is?
Yeah.
That tiny little dot. Do you understand why this is so important now? Like I want people to understand this, because hydrogen can get into every nick and cranny. The only important part is to make sure to make the hydrogen correctly. There's too much garbage out there from China. They're not making what I would call medical grade hydrogen.
Well, they're not making molecular hydrogen. Here you can see molecular hydrogen. Single molecule.
Or they just make it with the wrong materials. The plated cheap metals and cheap membranes. You do not want to get a device, in my opinion, with something with a DuPont membrane. And guess what? That's what they're using in all the Chinese stuff. Everything's got a DuPont membrane.
Well, that's what they were using in the Holy Hydrogen machine just 2 years ago before their accidental discovery.
Yep, because they're always trying to improve, right? And so they were lab testing everything, and they were using the highest end DuPont membrane. They were using the best, but they found things that they didn't like in there. Unfortunately, money is always king. And I'll tell you, the guys who have the most money in the US when it comes to hydrogen are guys promoting really crappy stuff.
Oh
You know
my
what I
God,
mean?
I wanted us to touch on the Gary Brecka thing, because Gary Brecka is now pushing a
dude.
hydrogen water bottle, and he's leading so many people to the.
He is, and those bottles are absolute crap. In fact, I hate to say it, they're kind of a scam. There's literally a guy who figured out the scam, and he showed those bottles. They're selling them for like, you can get one of those bottles for like 60 something bucks or something, and they literally are selling them for like, what is it, $300 or something crazy?
And then you're sending, so you explained it creates brown gas, which is oxygen and hydrogen, so that you're doing oxidative stress to yourself. You're sending the electricity and the electrolysis in the same chamber, right? Not separate chamber like the Holy Hydrogen machine. You're sending that electricity.
That's partially true.
Metals.
Partially true.
Okay, go ahead.
But basically, the big problem with those bottles is that they're using plated metals from China, and they're directly electrolyzing the water. So when you directly electrolyze water that has basically cheap plated metal, what do you think is going to happen? The metal flakes off. You're literally putting crappy heavy metals in your water. Plus, when you directly electrolyze water, it does not create the highest purity of hydrogen. It's literally just a gimmick. It's a gimmick. It's a joke that, in my opinion, instead of actually bringing your health, could actually cause more detriment to your health. You know what I mean? And when you take it off the picture of the Hydrofix, because it's so stable, you pour it in the glass. I mean, dude, you drink it within 5 minutes or less, you're going to get well over 90% of that hydrogen in your body. You know, and as far as like the whole Gary Brecka thing, I mean, I hate to say this. I'll say, first of all, as I already said before, you know, everything I'm saying is my opinion. In my opinion, I'm not making claims for or against any product or products, you know. But in my opinion, Japan knows about those bottles, just to make it really clear. Like, the number one, I think this is kind of wild. The number one hydrogen company in the world in Japan, which makes the best device, which is used in all these medical centers and doing amazing things, live blood analysis, thermal imaging, using it for Alzheimer's patients. I mean, it is the best, which is the Hydrofix. They will not, they're basically not selling or making like a hydrogen bottle that they're, going out and claiming is the best thing ever, because they've tried. They actually tried to make a good bottle. And basically what they discovered is that the design is flawed, by the way, meaning you can't make good hydrogen in a little bottle. It just won't work because you have to directly electrolyze the water. That right there already, the hydrogen is not going to be as pure. And as you were saying, those separate chambers is obviously one of the really important factors. And then you would literally never want to inhale the hydrogen gas from, directly electrolyzed water. You would need special filters and things of that nature. It's just not the correct way to make hydrogen. Now, the biggest issue is with the ones that, not just Gary Brecka and all these other devices that I'm seeing out there, his is not the only one. It's all the water bottles out there. And there's even a really good video that somebody posted showing that it's, I hate to say this, but in his opinion, it's a scam, and he shows why. These things are made in China. Now, it's really kind of funny. I think people need to ask themselves the question, do you really think China has the greatest of intentions for the health of Americans?
No, just think of the PFAS and all the plastic that comes into it. Like every plastic toy from my child right now, I'm like, man, this is a chemical weapon entering my house right now.
Exactly. And that's why I love that, again, that the Japanese are always trying to improve. They look at the metal and it's like, let's improve the metal. Let's improve membranes. Let's improve all these aspects to try to make the hydrogen better, even down to that cartridge that Troy was asking about, that I asked the company questions about. And they're like, everything in there is food grade. Like everything is to make the purest, best hydrogen in the world. And I don't think that the average person understands the potential dangers of making hydrogen incorrectly. And on top of it all, by the way, this goes for water filters too. I'm sure you heard about some of the lawsuits, and they will remain nameless. The water filter companies where the water was coming out dirtier after going through the filter.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard about that. So it's making people sick. Ironically, that doctor lady that I was talking about, she was using one of those. She was using one of these water filters that actually makes your water.
I think I can imagine what the name of that thing is.
Yeah. And so that's why I'm like, carbon distillation, there is technically no filter when you're distilling. You're using the power of nature. And so anyway, so yeah, but so what Gary Brecka is showing, in my opinion, is not the best hydrogen in the world. Not even close. I don't even know. I don't think he studied the subject well enough, to be quite honest. And then there's numerous other companies. I'm happy to promote any company that has good, safe, effective products. But in the world of hydrogen, there aren't any. I've only seen one, which is Holy Hydrogen, and the other ones are just subpar to worse than subpar. So why even share stuff that, is not going to be effective and just be a waste, in my opinion. So that's why I don't share a lot about it. But yeah.
Yeah, I gotta wrap this and then get to bed.
All right,
Gotta get
Curtis.
to the hot spring. Thanks, Greg.
All right, good seeing you, man.
Appreciate your wisdom as always.